And I think a lot of times people, when they're packing, I'm kind of jumping around, but I'm thinking about packing because I'm a great believer in packing light. That I have traveled with people that it never occurred to them to do laundry, and they went on a 3-week vacation and brought clean clothes for every day for 3 weeks. And it's like, that's a huge amount of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's just things. And you do mention taking, laundry soap or using shampoo in case you didn't bring your laundry soap. And there's all sorts of hints in this book, Travel Happy, Budget Low, about everything that Susanna has written. How can people get your books?
So the book will go on sale probably in about 10 days, and so people can go on my website. It's called createyourworldbooks.com, because I made a series called Create Your World Books. So CREATEYOURWORLD books.com. And they can, there's a place there where there's an entry form. If you can enter in their email addresses, I will email them when the books go on sale. So I will be selling them on my own website starting, I think, around June 16th, and then they'll be available on Amazon or through BarnesandNobles.com, or people can order them through their bookstore probably at the beginning of July.
And in Travel Happy, Budget Low, there's all kinds of. I'm just going to run by the table of contents. So there's the pre-trip basics. There's packing, frequent flyer miles, transportation at the airport, accommodations, food and beverages, communication, money, health and safety, miscellaneous, senior notes, and then again some tips from some of the people that entered your contest and some stories from them. One of the things that I really liked in the transportation section, obviously it's filled with lots of ideas, including lots of information about trains and rail passes, and then some things about using public transportation, local transportation is a really great way to save money and be around the people instead of separating yourself from them. Mm-hmm. And then you have a great trip on upgrading bus tickets, especially when you're in developing countries. And that is invaluable. I mean, the difference between having a first-class seat and a third-class seat on a bus or a train is just huge in terms of comfort. And it really isn't that much money difference for us.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you'd like to talk about from this section, Susanna?
Well, in the transportation section, I think it's really important for people to do research before they go to a country, especially if they're going to be taking the train system, because it's often that you can buy a train pass in your own country through a travel agency or through the national, like the tourism board of Japan or whatever, that lets you get discounts on train fares or give you like for example, you can buy a Eurail pass here that you can use in Europe on the train system, but you can't buy that same pass in Europe. You can only buy it in your own country. So, for example, if you're going to be spending 5 days in Germany and you want to go to Munich and Berlin and Heidelberg and Leipzig and all these places, if you go to Germany and you start buying individual tickets at the last minute from point A to point B and then C and D and blah, 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 it can cost a lot of money. But if you buy a train pass that may cost like $300 for 5 days of travel, then each trip is only costing you $60, and that's much cheaper if you were to actually pay for each trip individually in Germany. So I have tips in there about where to go to find out about train passes.
And then
sorry?
Go ahead.
I was also going to say in the United States, there are also bus companies besides Greyhound. There's a new bus company called Megabus Company, and there's the Chinatown Bus Company that are actually quite cheap. Like you can go from, I think, Boston to New York for like $10 or $15. You go from Chinatown in Boston to Chinatown in New York, so you don't go to the main bus terminal.
Wow, little known resources. And all of these are mentioned in your book. Like I said, there's over 160 different resources, websites, and connections for folks to find their way around some of the travel issues and questions that they have, and really a lot of great suggestions. In the accommodation section, you mentioned tons of different options of places to stay other than the basic hotel or hostel. And there's some really great ideas. One that you don't mention that I've used is Servos, which is an international hospitality organization, which is wonderful. And you can either be a host or a traveler. And it's really fun just to be at home. I have some people from Denmark coming very soon a whole family coming to stay with us. And that's another way, and Servas is really great. And if you don't know about it, Susanna, you might look into it. You might. But you do mention so many different, really simple places and websites that you can find out about things. It's really, really great. And strangers are generally really kind. And I know we've talked on the show before about couchsurfing.org. I've had a couple of people that were also writers and travelers that knew that. I hadn't heard of globalfreeloaders.com. That sounded like a fun one. And there are various different hospitality clubs around the world. And so there's, pages and pages of suggestions in your book about places to stay and vacation rentals and home exchanges and all kinds of different things that I think people could really have fun with. And then in another section in communications, you mentioned something which I'd never knew, that you could take your cell phone and get a different SIM card for it and actually use your own cell phone while you're in a different country and save a huge amount of money.
So that's only if you have a GSM phone. Like if you're on Sprint PCS or on Verizon, your phone won't work in other countries. But if you have an AT&T phone or T-Mobile phone, those are using the GSM network, and those do take SIM cards, and you can use them in other countries. But you have to make sure that, let's say if you're going to Japan, they have a completely different frequency that they use there on their phones. So you might actually have to get another phone. But I think in the United States and in Mexico and Canada, we use one frequency, and most of Latin America uses another frequency. So you have to check the frequency, the band frequency of your phone, to see if it works in these other places that you're going to.
Well, and you have a lot of really good suggestions about communications, ranging from Skype to phone cards to just all kinds of things. I mean, you have really put a lot of time and energy into coming up with some great ideas.
Yeah, I have, and now I don't want to travel right now. I'm so tired.
Well, I was wondering where you were planning on going next.
Well, I'm actually going to Boston Tuesday night. I'm going for my high school reunion next weekend in Boston. But I think that might be my only trip for long. I feel like I'm on a staycation mode right now.
And are there other languages that you're interested in looking into learning now?
That's a good question. I get that one a lot, and I have thought about it. I thought about going back to learn Arabic because I stopped studying it 6 years ago. Chinese fascinates me with all the characters, but I think about how much time it would take me to invest in learning Chinese and Arabic. And those are definitely time-intensive languages. And I think that because my mission is to create global citizens and have people be able to communicate and travel confidently around the world, I would rather spend more time promoting my books and promoting foreign language education, making people realize that they can do it easily and they can travel the world on a budget, because that is going to be so much more effective than my learning Arabic or my learning Chinese, so I can speak in Arabic or Chinese. In
your Create Your World contest tips and stories, there was a tip here that I found really a great idea, which I never thought of, and that was if you're traveling with somebody, to each of you put a change of clothes in the other person's suitcase in case your suitcase gets lost, that you still have something to change into. That was just so simple and so brilliant. It just never occurred to me.
Yeah, I had never done it either, and I like that tip. That's why I put it in the book.